Prime Minister Motley addresses the Congressional Black Caucus. Health officials worried about an increase in leptospirosis cases. And in sports, Windies women suffer a humbling defeat to the Lady Proteas in their first ODI.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
And a very good evening to you. I'm Sophia Alsop, Cambridge, with this Sunday, September 16th edition of the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, Prime Minister Mia Motley has encouraged members of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation to partner with her government in addressing some of the major issues facing Barbados today. She was speaking during a reception at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C. last Thursday. The Prime Minister said the nature of the issues we face today requires that we move beyond borders in order to deal with them.
And it's going to be about food security, it's going to be about access to water, and it's going to be about basic issues. And the sad news is that we're running out of time if we haven't completely run out yet. And the next few years, literally, how we reposition ourselves, and as I've been saying to others, it's not just about governments acting now, although that's important, but it's about mobilizing a movement of people across the world. And if you can help be at the vanguard of this movement as African Americans, then you will do that which is not being done by many others.
Local health officials are moving to prevent the spread of leptospirosis. Among the efforts underway is the free distribution of rodent bait. This is usually done through the polyclinics, but distribution also occurred this weekend at the Emerald City Complex in St. Philip. There are also plans for a door-to-door campaign coming soon. Principal Environmental Health Officer at the St. Philip Polyclinic, Maurice Gaskin, says an increase in cases is usually observed during the rainy season, but he says the ministry is making sure that Barbadians have easy access to the bait.
We have had an increase in leptospirosis cases between the parishes of St. Philip and St. John. So we don't want to have any morbidity or mortality due to any diseases from rodents such as leptospirosis or hantavirus. So that's why we're here distributing rodent bait. I think the response is overwhelming. Persons were here lining up even before we started.
Well, the distribution was a joint effort between the St. Philip Environmental Health Department and the David Thompson Health and Social Services Complex. Members of the public were also educated on the correct use of the bait and given tips on how to keep their surroundings vermin-free.
We have to be more proactive in terms of dealing with our surroundings, make sure that the grass and so on, the bushes is actually kept down low, at least 3 inches and so on, and so that we provide harborage. Some people like to hoard materials and stuff like that. You know, people selling bottles and all these things, they put them all over the yard and stuff like that, creating harborages for the same rats and so on. So these are initiatives that householders could do to really stop the proliferation of rats.
Well, today is International Ozone Day, and Barbadians are being urged to continue to adopt ozone-friendly habits. In a message, Minister of the Environment and National Beautification Trevor Prescott says Barbados will realize a 25% reduction in hydrochlorofluorocarbon consumption. The country is set to achieve the Montreal Protocol compliance obligation of a 35% reduction by 2020. Barbadians are also being urged not to give up on their dream of owning a new car or SUV, even in the current economic climate. That's the message from Managing Director of the local CIBC First Caribbean, Donna Wellington. She spoke as the bank hosted its second red carpet show. Sharika Griffith was there and she filed this report.
The event showcased Barbados' top car dealerships and some of their latest vehicle models. Managing Director of CIBC First Caribbean, Donna Wellington, says events such as this one are proof that the financial services sector remains confident in the motor services industry and the economy.
Our strongest message to you, our clients, this evening is therefore that you need not place your aspirations on hold, even within a climate of economic uncertainty. because we are committed to helping you achieve continued financial success.
For the first time, the event featured several electronic vehicles from Mega Power, including the new Tesla X. Director Joanna Edgell says despite a recent dip in sales, demand is on the increase.
In some ways, the last year has been slow compared with the previous year. And I think that's because in the lead up to elections, the 3 months in the lead up, people just weren't buying vehicles. And I'm sure that a lot of the garages would echo the same sentiment. But since election, sales have really picked up. And our forecast to the end of the year is almost double what it was in the same period for last year.
Another highlight of the night was the unveiling of a new vehicle brand, which will be offered by Platinum Motors.
SsangYong is the third largest passenger car manufacturer behind the two leaders. And we felt after a visit to the factory, looking at the R&D facility and driving the product, that this was something that would go well in the Barbados market.
Mr. Hamilton says the Korean-made SUV will allow the company to remain competitive in the small crossover SUV market. Sharika Griffith, CBC News.
Well, the Minister of the Environment and National Beautification, Trevor Prescott, has publicly thanked private waste haulers who've offered to help as government tackles the country's waste problem. He says the national cleanup campaign is a mammoth but not impossible task. Even with government's shortage of trucks, Minister Prescott is certain that the campaign will span the entire island because of the input from the private sector.
I want to, at this point, thank all of those private persons who offer their service. And from my understanding, not with any ulterior motive. They were clean in their conscience and they offer their services to the Ministry of the Environment.
Well, Minister Prescott was speaking during the launch of the second phase of the campaign at Britain's Hill in St. Michael yesterday. He believes there are other non-governmental entities which should join in the effort.
There are lots of organizations that speak about social and cultural development, and they don't sometimes understand that the social and cultural development also includes activities of this kind. And I am a little disappointed. We made the call to these organizations and we have not seen them here in the manner in which we should be seeing them. We need to work in partnership.
Well, the Minister of Maritime Affairs, Kirk Humphrey, believes that Barbadians must re-examine how they dispose of garbage, particularly because what happens on the land is also impacting the ocean. He made the comments as Barbados observed World Cleanup Day yesterday.
And I think our solution for our problem with waste has to be that we create, Marshall, I'm sure you know, a circular economy. I keep talking about it, where we find a way to reduce the amount of waste that we have in the system. And that which is in the system, we keep recycling so that we could use it for something else. And if at the end of all of that we still have waste, then we should be able to use that waste to generate energy.
Well, Minister Humphrey adds that government will soon be announcing a new plan for the treatment of single-use plastics. In other news, there's growing interest from Barbadian students in fashion design, at least based on the number of applicants to the Barbados Community College's Fine Arts Department program. Divisional head Zan Ward says the two-year fashion design course attracts about 40 to 50 applications, but there are only places for 15 to 17 students. She was speaking as a group of students seized the opportunity to meet international designer Anthony Williams. Ms. Ward has described the session as a fantastic opportunity.
Being an international designer, the students are not usually exposed to, that level of professionalism. But I think that Mr. Williams, and actually it comes at the beginning of their portfolio. They're preparing for portfolio next year, 2019 in May. And I think it's going to give them a boost because a lot of them think that Barbados is the only way they can, make money, and being in Barbados is the only way they can make money. But I think for them to really spread their wings and to probably do bachelor's or master's degrees, that someone like him would give him the motivation to travel.
Well, on the regional scene over in Guyana, an argument over cigarettes has resulted in death. We get more in this report from Travis Chase.
A man who police say is known to them has been detained after he allegedly stabbed a lodge resident to death over cigarettes. Dead is 22-year-old Roger Allen of Durban Street Lodge. This eyewitness, who held Allen on his way to hospital, explained that the row had been over cigarettes.
He claiming how Roger come at the shop to buy cigarette.
The boy who stabbed him?
Yeah. And snatched the pack from him and touch up all the cigarette. But to word him out, people saying no, it's not that. He then snatch the pack and touch up the stick. He take it out his hand and take out 2 big go for buy.
Police Friday afternoon said in a statement that the suspect, Matthew Parks of Freeman Street, East Lipanetons, was on duty at the mini-mart scene here when Allen went to the mini-mart to make a purchase. During that process, the two had an exchange of words due to a misunderstanding, and Allen subsequently left. Later that afternoon, as the suspect exited his workplace, Allen confronted him, armed with a piece of wood and a knife. A scuffle ensued and both men received injuries. They were escorted to the GPHC, where Allen underwent emergency surgery for 2 suspected stab wounds but later succumbed.